They called themselves the Maquis. Hidden in mountain forests, armed with worn rifles and fierce hope, these bands of French resistance fighters waged a silent shadow war against the Nazis. While Paris marched under the iron heel of occupation, the Maquis melted into the countryside. Farmers by day, saboteurs by night, and living proof that not all of France would surrender. The Maquis were a patchwork army. Students, teachers, priests, communists, even escaped prisoners. What they shared was a refusal to give in and a willingness to risk everything. By nightfall, railway lines would mysteriously explode. Bridges would vanish into rivers. Nazi supply trucks found only burned-out wrecks blocking narrow village roads. One of their deadliest tools was the derailment of trains. Using explosives, Maquisards targeted supply routes carrying German troops, tanks, and munitions. A single successful mission could paralyze an entire division. The Maquis worked closely with the British Special Operations Executive, known as the SOE. Crates dropped by parachute brought them Sten guns, explosives, radios, sometimes even orders scrawled on silk and chocolate for morale. But each act of sabotage came at a brutal price. Whole villages, like Oradour-sur-Glane, were massacred in Nazi reprisals. Maquis radio operators were forced to move constantly, changing frequencies and hiding in barns, attics, forests, always one step ahead of the Gestapo. Yet, even under the constant threat of torture, deportation, or death, their courage only grew. They knew every path, every meadow, every cave, turning the wild French landscape into a weapon. Sabotage wasn't just a blow to the German war machine. It was a signal to occupied France. Resistance was possible and spreading. Take June 1944. The Allies needed to keep German troops far from Normandy beaches. The Maquis launched coordinated attacks on roads, railways, even communication lines. German reinforcements faced chaos and delay, all thanks to unseen hands working in the shadows. Their unity was born out of necessity. Rival political groups setting aside differences for a single cause: freedom. By the time of D-Day, the Maquis had recruited over 100,000 fighters. Their methods weren't glamorous, and their operations rarely made headlines. But the explosions that tore through steel rails signaled hope. Small bursts of defiance echoing across the countryside. For every mission completed, more joiners arrived. Young women pedaling bicycles to deliver messages. Old men hiding weapons beneath bales of hay. Children running silent errands no one would ever speak about. They learned to trust no one and to rely on coded messages. The carrots are cooked. Broadcast on the BBC might be the signal to strike. But betrayal was always a shadow at their campfire. Tortured or coerced informants could unravel months of planning in a single night. Every Maquis fighter understood the cost. Many would not survive. Some would vanish into unmarked graves, their stories lost beneath the trees they'd once used for cover. Yet, their legacy lives in every corner of liberated France. For the Nazis, the Maquis were a constant, infuriating threat. For the people of France, they were whispers of hope. One fighter remembered, "We did not fight for medals, we fought to breathe free air again." His words capture a spirit that outlived the occupation. When the Allies finally marched into Paris, many Maquisards simply melted back into their former lives. Quiet, anonymous, yet forever changed by the war they'd helped to win. The cost was immense. Tens of thousands of resistance fighters killed, entire villages destroyed, families torn apart. Yet, it's no exaggeration to say their sabotage missions helped tilt the balance of the war. Even small acts, cutting telegraph wires, felling trees across convoy routes, blowing up a fuel dump, changed the rhythm of battle, slowed the Nazi juggernaut, kept hope alive. Their story isn't just one of guns and sabotage. It's about ordinary people choosing defiance, choosing to fight, sometimes with nothing more than courage and a stick of dynamite handed to them by moonlight. The Maquis didn't see themselves as heroes. Most believed they couldn't possibly win, but by refusing to submit, they became legends. Some joined the Maquis after witnessing Nazi atrocities firsthand. Roundups, executions, the destruction of towns. For others, it was a matter of pride, shame, or even boredom. But once inside, they found themselves part of something larger, the living, beating heart of resistance. Their sabotage wasn't just sabotage. It was a lifeline to the Allies, a thorn in the side of every German commander in France. Generals demanded more troops to suppress them. Supplies destined for the front were diverted to hunt them down. The Maquis inspired fear and frustration among the enemy, but gave hope and pride to the oppressed. Each destroyed bridge, each ambush, shot through the French countryside like a pulse beating against occupation. They survived by improvising, swapping uniforms, using disguises, making homemade explosives out of fertilizer. Their tools were as diverse as their backgrounds. Some of the Maquis' most daring operations involved liberating entire towns ahead of Allied advances, raising the tricolor flag over city halls in defiance, while German outposts still lingered on the outskirts. Many will tell you their story is one of sacrifice and sorrow. But it's also a story of resistance, transforming the impossible into real, gritty hope. Their legacy lives on in tales told in village squares, in battered monuments, in the freedom their homeland reclaimed. Next time you hear the rails hum beneath a French train, remember, those tracks once echoed with the courage of the Maquis. Their war was fought not in grand armies, but in midnight sabotage, whispered passwords, and the will to never give up, not for glory, but for the promise that France and freedom would one day rise again. And even now, their stories linger like smoke over the fields and forests, reminding us just how powerful ordinary people can be when pushed by history to extraordinary acts. That power is the heart of the resistance and the soul of a free France.